Okay guys, in this video I'm going to be sharing this is going to be the first video where I begin sharing my book with you guys that I have not published yet, okay? And I'm going to start off by sharing the story of how the light first came to me. Now, when I say the light, understand that I'm talking about the astral light of Hekate, of the divine. So I'm not talking about light that you see with your eyes, okay? I'm not differentiating light and darkness in the sense of what you see with your eyes. I'm talking about the astral light, okay? This is an invisible force of divine being, okay? So that's what I'm sharing in this video, is how that light came to me, the astral light. I'm just going to begin reading this to y'all, okay? So I have already said how in the summer of 2012, Hekate came to me in a vision and told me I would become her oracle. This was my first actual vision versus intuitions and dreams of the future, because it was while I was awake. At first, I rejected the visions and oracle status because I was frightened of their spontaneity and intensity. But by the winter of 2012, I accepted Hecate's will for me and agreed to become her oracle. Soon after I accepted, I was bombarded with visions and dreams centering around Hekate and her return to dominion over the earth. She informed me that 13 was her sacred number, and that in 2013 she would be returning to the world and to the people. It is important to note that at this time I had been a witch devoted to Hekate for 13 years exactly, and that my personal perception of her was as the personification of divine feminine and of divine wisdom. So when she spoke of her return, I imagined it was as these forces coming to be predominant in society once again, as before the rise of the patriarchal systems. All of this background information is relevant to what occurred the night of March 25th, 2013. But before I get to that, let me give a little more perspective about Hekate. Delving into her mythology, one finds some peculiar things about her and the role she played. Though her origins go back beyond Greek and Roman myth, I'll keep it to her portrayal in those myths for this brief summary of her character. It is also relevant to note here that there are two distinct portrayals of Hekate in the classical myths, which reflects the shift from the older matriarchy into the patriarchal society. In the older myths, we find Hekate as the initiator into the mysteries of the priesthood. She's the loving, nurturing, and wise teacher. This is paralleled in myth, as in the story of the abduction of Persephone by Hades. He abducts Persephone, and takes her down into his palace in the underworld. Persephone's mother, the earth goddess Demeter, is heartbroken at the loss of her daughter. In her sorrow and anger, she withdraws her life-giving powers from the earth. All plants and animals begin to wither, and an implacable winter ensues. Demeter does this to force the other Olympian gods to help her retrieve Persephone from Hades. Of the Olympian gods, none have dominion in the underworld except for Hades. Here enters Hekate. She is not an Olympian, but actually belongs to the older order of divine beings, the Titans. Researching the Titanomachy, the war of gods and Titans, we find that Hekate, above all the Titans, sided with the younger Olympian gods. Now, from the beginning, Hekate had dominion over heaven, earth, sea, and underworld. So as a reward for her help, Zeus, as the new king of gods, allows her to keep all her authority. Thus, she alone, besides Hades, has dominion in the underworld. And so here she steps in and offers to act as torch-bearing guide for Demeter through the underworld on a journey to retrieve Persephone. The story continues that Hades is forewarned of this rescue, and so he has Persephone eat a single pomegranate seed from his table. And since eating from Death's table binds one to death, Persephone unwittingly binds herself to him. When Hecate and Demeter arrive, the trick is revealed, but a compromise is made that Persephone may return to Earth and be with Demeter for some time of each year, but for the rest of the year she must spend in the underworld with Hades. And so each year Demeter mourns and the result is winter, but spring is Demeter's rejoicing at Persephone's return. This is a powerful myth showing Hecate's importance as a loving guide through darkness, literally a guiding light through the unknown and the fearsome. And now returning to the myth of the Titanomachy, we learn on Hecate's all-pervading, omnipotent powers and authority. Even more, not only does Zeus not try to take away any of her power, but he also rewards her alone with a power equal to his own, the power to grant or withhold anything from any being, god or mortal. Later, after the shift of matriarchal society to patriarchal, myths of Hecate are specifically demonized. She is called the Queen of Witches in a derogatory sense, ghosts, demons, and hell. Her priestesses are called witches, and she is associated more and more with darkness, night, and evil. And she is not the only female deity to suffer of this turning point. The Oracle of Delphi as well, which was once presided over by priestesses, and the oracle called the Pythoness, who spoke for an ancient female serpent deity, is replaced by priest of the sun god Apollo, who in his own myth slays the Python goddess. And so on, the entire society shifted from the divine feminine centric to the patriarchal systems. Hopefully, with this provided background information, my experiences can be understood with better perspective. Okay, so now this is getting back into my personal story. For me, the winter between 2012 and 2013 was very tumultuous and dark. Now looking back, it was probably because of the exoteric chaos that my inner spiritual understanding developed as it did that winter. There was a specific family disturbance ongoing at that time. Half my family is Christians on my father's side, and the other half of my family is witches on my mother's side. All things happen for a reason, and I can see now why everything happened the way it did, and how these events brought about my awakening. At the beginning of 2012, I had formed a witchcraft coven with my cousin Sean from my dad's side of the family, and his girlfriend Gabriella. I was teaching them the Hekate mysteries and how to practice witchcraft. This was all kept secret from Sean's parents, which is my aunt and uncle, and the rest of his family, like his sister and stuff like that. His sisters, which are my cousins as well. And all was well for a while. But a dark and heavy chapter began to unfold soon after. Sean's family suddenly went through a bizarre shift in consciousness where they became severely the Bible-thumping type of Christians. Before that, they had just been Christian. Religion wasn't a main practice in their family at all. But during this time, they suddenly became like Bible thumpers, okay, y'all? It was really crazy. Suddenly, everything in his home became obey Jesus and fear Satan. They bombarded him with even more of the Christian religious dogma. He must have been so confused at that time. His mind was just beginning to open to the higher perspective through the coven, only to be shot down by his parents' satanic panic. This was such a dark time. It hurt to see the growing light in my cousin smothered and his mind plunged into confusion and distress. The coven was broken. We were all hurting. For weeks and months afterwards, Gabriella and I put our heads together. We analyzed, planned, schemed, plotted, reevaluated. We came up with really good ideas and insights But all our attempts to make things better fell short. I realize now why. It was because no matter how much we may change ourselves, we cannot change others. Months into this dark time, it came to a head when Sean's parents discovered about our coven and the witchcraft. They violently rejected Gabriella and I, and isolated Sean from us. That fateful day, Gabriella and her mom came over to my house to tell me the bad news. It just so happened that while they were there, Sean's parents showed up pounding at my door. A dramatic scene unfolded with Sean's parents standing on my porch going off on us through my locked screen door. The confrontation was all one-sided attacks from them towards us, how we were so evil and how Judgment Day was coming and we're the devil's worshippers, etc. I remember imagining to myself how horrible the burning times must have been for the witches who were murdered by deranged crowds of the people they probably knew and loved. Eventually, Sean's parents reined themselves in and left, condemning us one final time. Gabriella and her mom stayed for a while, and we all spoke together with my mom about what had happened, processing it all. It all felt so wrong and unreal, like I was in a movie. Later, they left too, Gabriella and her mom, and I was left alone with my own broken feelings and mixed thoughts. I laid there in my bed. I went from crying to being angry to analyzing and back again. I must have mentally and physically exhausted myself because I just laid there feeling drained. And this is when it happened. The light born from darkness. I lay there feeling defeated. I realized I could do nothing, absolutely nothing at all, to fix or change the situation. In that dark place, I said aloud, I'd give up. My way isn't working, Hekate. My way isn't working, God. There's nothing I can do. I give up. I know you're real. I know that you're there. And I know that you're with me. And I would rather be dead now than to have you come into my life predominantly and prove that you're real. That's when it came. The light. As soon as I admitted defeat, I laid on my back, on my bed, staring up at the ceiling, and I felt a strong sense of a presence enter my room and come over me. Now, I didn't actually see anything, but in my mind's eye, I beheld a brilliant, golden, sparkling light spread out above me like a blanket, about a foot above my body. This light and its presence radiated a gentle but intense love and acceptance. It felt like a big-hearted hug from a loving grandparent, like it was there specifically to comfort and console me. And it worked. A profound peace came over me, my mind quieted, and my heart stopped hurting. I just lay there for a while, letting its love envelop me. Then I began to perceive that this presence, this light, had a distinct identification and its own consciousness. I decided to speak to it. I asked who and what it was. Now, at this point, I'm talking in my own mind, just with my thoughts, because I somehow intuitively understood that this light was telepathic. So I just thought these things to it. Okay. So I asked it who and what it was. And then, as you hear your own thoughts in your mind, this light spoke to me, but in its own voice. And so it telepathically spoke back to me, y'all. It told me that it was the Holy Spirit. It told me that it was Hekate. It told me that it was God. And that it was also me. It said that by my surrendering my own will, I had chosen the only other option, which was it. I asked what I had been doing wrong and why nothing I had tried had worked with my family situation. It answered me in such detail. It showed me my entire life choices up until that point. It showed me my spiritual progress and seeking, and it divided what I had been doing right from what I had been doing wrong. And it wasn't there to judge me, but to teach me. It said that within my heart, I had known the love and the divine, but that I had been seeking and searching for it in the wrong places, outside of myself. It said that my spirituality was correct, but that all my religion is wrong. but that all religion is wrong, period. In the sense that all religion contains the truths of love and spiritual truth, but that they also mix it with exoteric things, and that makes it have separations and divisions. I should note here that I had already known all that information about religion and spirituality, but for all my knowledge, this light gave me a more perfect understanding of it all. It said that all of the truth was within me, and I never had to seek for it, but that seeking it was not wrong either, because now I could understand it. In an instant, it compared and contrasted everything for me and showed me that Hekate and God is love, and that it was always with me. Throughout the whole experience, the light seemed happy and joyful, loving, and never anything else. After our conversation, I asked it again who it was, and this time it said its name was Lucifer. Then it continued to explain that it doesn't matter what I chose to call it, but that I understood that what it was the Holy Spirit, the light. Then I asked it to never leave me, and it said it wouldn't. Next, I felt it enter me and specifically seemed to surround my head like a halo of light, radiating in all directions. I remember for a while after, I felt taller and bigger and more expansive. I thanked it profusely and fell asleep completely at peace. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it there. There is a little bit more in this chapter of the book, but I'm going to leave it at that because that's kind of irrelevant to this. Okay? So that's how the light came to me. That's how Hekate came to me as I understand it. That's how I achieved Gnosis. Okay? So the next videos, I will get into more detail about that, and I will start teaching y'all the actual lessons that the light began teaching me that have empowered me to the level that I'm at now. Okay? Blessed be.